Hey everyone, I'm starting a new book today. So for my John Maxwell, I'm starting this book. It's Your Roadmap for Success. So I think for success, we have to ask ourselves, what do we define as success? And so in looking at this book, I think success means different things to different people. But John starts this section, this book, with talking about how he made a decision to move to Atlanta with his team from where he was located, and how he asked his team to come with him, and how many of us do that, how many of us who are immigrants have to make that decision about moving, about leaving places and going to start again in different places, in new places. So he moved from Sarasota, Florida to Atlanta. And if you know where you're going, the journey can be more fun. You have to know where you want to go. You have to know where it is that you aim to be. If you want to end up in poverty, most likely you will. If you want to end up alone, most likely you will. But you have to have a roadmap. You have to have some idea of where you want to be. It doesn't mean that you will land up there, but at least you can try. So with us as immigrants, I know people say, oh yeah, look at them. They came here from a third world country. But our systems, our ways of life, our Ubuntu, can be far more sophisticated than theirs. How many times do you find people going from America to Africa, and then they come back and they talk about Ubuntu, and they talk about how different it is and how nice people are and how friendly people are, and they wish they could make America like that. But they can't, because that's in our blood. So you'll find you can go to places in America, in Canada, where their systems and what they live with is worse than the third world countries, than the global south. The sophistication can be much more advanced in parts of Africa and Asia, depending where you go. So if you're an immigrant coming here, I would encourage you not to let them put you down. I would encourage you to speak up. Yes, it does hurt, and yes, it is painful. But remember, they're always coming at you with an attitude of superiority, right? You don't raise your voice. You just do your work. You do what you are told to do. But when they come to our countries, we don't treat them that way. And so you have to push back. Within reason, you have to know your limits as well. But you have to push back, because otherwise they're just going to keep doing it. And they're going to keep treating us like, oh, the little African girl, or the little Indian girl, or the white woman who came here from Africa, and what does she know? And that's just the reality. So for some of the things that we have now, like with the HRPA, with people who have come into Canada, the designations, I've contributed to helping to make that easier for people coming in. We've put systems in place, we've put frameworks in place, we've put guidelines in place. So it's not as hard for them as it was for me. And that's the way it should be. Things should be getting easier for us and for the people coming after us. In many cases, they're not. But we have to still try, and we have to make the effort. So for this one, I did cover the full chapter. I read the full chapter, and I'm just going to go through the main points. So I'm sure you've heard of the big meeting that was held by all these millionaires. I'm just going to sit down. These millionaires, where they all got together, and they were all the richest people in the world. And being rich, having a lot of money, does not necessarily equate with success. Because John Maxwell gives powerful examples in here of how those who strove only after monetary success landed up broke, landed up in prison, landed up without anything meaningful in their lives. So in the tradition of success, we have to know that we have to have a purpose. So success is for everyone. There are people who are born disabled that go on to be world tennis champions. There are people who just completing high school makes them happy. There are people who enjoy baking. So you have to have a picture of what success means to you. And success is not about power. Hitler was not successful. He had all the power in the world, but he used it destructively. And you can look at something being worthwhile and you can pursue that. It's also not about possessions. You can have everything you want and you can still not be happy. You can have nothing and you can still be happy. So if you ask me, were you happier in Zimbabwe? Probably I was, because I had my friends around me, I had meaningful work, I didn't have to worry about being out on the street, I didn't have to worry that, oh, okay, I can't pay my rent this month, so what am I going to do? Because I knew there'd always be somebody to take me in, and a burden shared is a burden halved. Whereas over here, it's very different. And we have to have the right picture. What does the right picture of success look like to us? We have to understand what the principles are behind that. And we have to understand how we can help others. So what is our purpose in life? If we know our purpose in life, and I'm not talking about a career, like you can say, okay, I'm going to be a doctor, or I'm going to be a nurse. But then when you leave your country and you come here, you may not necessarily be able to practice in that field. I'll give you my own example. I went to Rotman. I was accepted into Rotman here. I studied human resources. I have all the credentials, I have all the experience, but I'm sitting in unemployed or in minimum wage. And yet they're bringing in more and more HR people to work in management in Canada. So it doesn't make sense unless you look at it through the lens of discrimination. Because unless you've got somebody that's willing to open those doors for you, to help you, to mentor you, your chances of getting into that kind of a relationship management position are very rare. And it doesn't only happen to me as an immigrant. I know financial advisors in the branch, and they're telling me at TD how frustrated they are because they've been there, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, and they're not getting those opportunities to move into management. And yet they can be the best of the best. So sometimes, even though you know your purpose of helping people, of being educated in a certain field, you don't get those opportunities. And then you can look at the flip side of my life, of I'm a spiritual director. So I don't get to, I don't have a practice that is financially successful. That's why I'm always putting out my link, asking for help. But that's what we are supposed to do. It doesn't mean that I don't use my skills. I do use them. I use them to help with retreats. I write prayers. I help with the church activities. So I use them in different ways. But I don't always get those opportunities that the men get, where the men will organize a retreat at a retreat center. I don't always get those same opportunities to go to the Vatican to meet the Pope. So it's very different. There is still a lot of discrimination that comes into play. But I do use my skills as a spiritual director. yes, I use my skills in HR, but with HR it's different. It's a business field, and you are supposed to make money from it. You're not supposed to end up being broke, always being shafted for opportunities. Whenever your managers put you forward, oh no, you're not going to make an exception for you. And that's what's been happening to me since I've come to Canada. So know your purpose, know how you want to help people, and what you're going to do to reach your potential, because we all have potential. And what I've done is I've chosen to invest in my skills, in my education. I've chosen to keep learning, to keep growing. But I mean, probably this year, I may not be able to renew my HRPA dues because I have no money. I first have to finish paying the balance on my rent, and then I have to pay for my internet, I have to pay for my phone, just the basics. And then my HRPA dues are above and beyond that. So, you work for those designations, you work to have them as a standard of excellence, to show that you're working in the interest of the public, but you don't get those opportunities. So for me, like John Maxwell, I have to be willing to move. I have to be willing to move, whether it's back to Africa or to America or to England. I have to be willing to move, because that's always what I wanted to do, to play my piano, have my music, and be a concert pianist, and to work in the field of HR, whether it was as an assistant or as a relationship manager. That's what I wanted to do. And I never got those opportunities. At the beginning of my career, I worked in HR and I did some project management work. But then after you move off that contract, there's very few non-whites who get those relationship management positions, particularly in the bank. The banks had to go through a huge reform here, where they had to push to get Black people and visible minorities into relationship management roles because of the discrimination. Because their mindset is that, oh, you come from a third world country, or you don't know how to think, or you don't have compassion. And that's what happened to me in the call center. They used to tell me, change your words. I used to say, what do you mean, change your words? They're like, oh, you have to demonstrate to the Americans that you know how to be compassionate, and you have to change your words because they don't feel your compassion. I'm like, what? So then they told us, the first thing you should do is say sorry. I'm like, but it's not my fault. And they're like, just say sorry. Whenever you talk to somebody, just say sorry. So eventually, I used to say, you know what, this is not on. Eventually, all the other agents pushed back. And then they said, don't say sorry. So you see how it is. And most of the people working in the call center are not white. They're Indians, or they're Blacks, or mixed race. So it just shows you how their idea of, oh, you come from a third world country, it actually lands up backfiring on them. So that's the thing to remember. And then also, when we are looking at our purpose, we can look at how we can improve things. So whether we're working on ourselves or working on improving a system, we can look at how are we going to make continual improvements. Because what worked yesterday may not work today, and we see that with the global blackouts that are taking place now. Like God is like saying, like, you guys think you God, but your barrier around your earth is not working really that well anymore. So carry on thinking that you're God, and carry on thinking that your millions are God, and watch what I do. That's basically what's happening. And there's these videos that are on YouTube now saying that in places where they had the blackouts like Portugal and Spain, people actually felt more peaceful because they didn't have access to the internet. They weren't checking their phones every 2 minutes. There was nobody calling them and pinging them and messaging them. And that's the same effect that you can have on your body when you go on a retreat. When you go on a silent retreat, whether it's for 7 days or 5 days, you can do it at home if you don't have money to go on a retreat. You can say, okay, for these 5 days, I'm not going to put any electronics on. I'm going to have my phone off, my TV off, my radio off, and see how it changes your mind and your body. So that's something that's interesting that came out of that. And then the past, like when we think that the past is gone, we can't change yesterday, we can learn from it and we can grow from it, but we can't change what's happened in our history, in being discriminated against, in not being given the accolades that we should, the opportunities that we should. But if we don't keep fighting, nothing's going to change for us. We have to keep fighting for those top jobs, for the education, for the opportunities to travel. We have to keep doing it. And if you're a woman, it's 100 times harder than if you're a man. And even Billie Jean King will tell you that, or Martina Navratilova. It's 100 times harder. But that doesn't mean that we give up. We learn from them. And then we focus on the future. And our efforts don't just benefit us, they benefit others as well. So for me, I took my aromatherapy courses, my essential oil mixing and massage. And I did advertise. I tried to say, okay, I'll try to take people, build a business, have clients. But people were not interested. Everybody wants everything for free, just like with spiritual direction. So I decided not to do that, but I loved it. I absolutely love it. I love treating people, and I do it only for women, unless I'm very comfortable with somebody. I did it for one guy in my training, but that was it. And I like to touch people. I like to hug people. And I think part of that comes from having lived in South Africa. South Africans are big huggers. So if those opportunities don't open up for us, we have to look for other opportunities. And that's why I was saying that you might have your dream, you might have your ideal of what you would like to do. Like when I started in high school, my dream was always to work in consulting, like Deloitte, Ernst Young, these big consulting firms. But I never got those opportunities. And working in banking, it just kind of happened because I worked in investment banking in England in the print rooms. And then when I came to Canada, the agencies put me forward. And I enjoyed it. So I just took whatever opportunities came. I tried to help others and I tried to plant seeds for the future. But again, it comes down to what is your purpose. And for me, I'm happiest when I'm helping with spiritual direction, when I'm with small groups, when I'm helping people to focus on the scriptures. And I'm at peace when I'm at Regis College. I love being at the college. But again, those opportunities for me have not opened up. So it doesn't mean I give in to despair and I give in to, saying, well, why did God do this to me? I could do that. But if I look for other ways to use my skills to help people, and especially to help women immigrants, because if the opportunity comes for me to go back to South Africa or Zimbabwe, I have no reason to stay here. I mean, my goal in coming here was to be with the family. It was to have those Christmases together, New Year's, or, to be together with my sister, with my mother, with my uncles. But when you're not earning well and you never have money in your bank account, there's only so many times other people can send you the ticket. There's only so many times they can help you. And for me, it hasn't worked out financially. So yes, I take joy in the everyday things, in what I have and what I do. But the money piece is important. And it's important for us to remember that, because if you don't have that financial success, it limits you on a lot of things, and you'll end up like me, living off credit, living off debt, because people are not giving you those opportunities. And yet they know on their teams that you're the best of the best, but yet they never call you back, or they don't get the support to bring you on, or they don't get the budget to do what they need to do. So there's a lot of limitations in life. But the main thing is to know that where do we want to go? What do we want to do? And then to take the steps, the continual steps to get there, and not to give up. We can't give up. So that's the first chapter of this. And I thought it was interesting how it opened with just Mr. Maxwell focusing on Enjoy and his group, and how they were leaving one place to go to another, because that's our migrant journey. And it's painful, it's hard. I loved England. I did not want to come to Canada at all. And the day I landed, I looked out of that plane and I thought, oh my God, wish I could go back, because it was just white. There was snow all over. But I love Canada now. I've learned to enjoy it, to appreciate the change of seasons, especially fall. It's very pretty. That doesn't mean I don't miss England. I do miss England. But I make the most of it, and I put my faith in God. I hope and I pray that I get that break, because it's very hard, not only for me, but for the family members, the friends who have helped me financially, because they're working, they're giving up their hard-earned money, and like me, hoping and praying that I get that break. And it's not small amounts of money. I've got like a line of credit of 18,000. Then I've got a credit card of 13,000. Those were all used to invest in my education. Then you've got your day-to-day living. So people have sent me their hard-earned money so that I can have a place to live. And they don't want me on the street. They don't want me living in a room in somebody's house. They want me to be independent, to stay here, to have my own place. That's why they're helping me. And I think it's unfortunate that, like me, many people are not getting the breaks. They're not getting the opportunities. So like the John Maxwell team, they're choosing to leave and go to another place where they can get it. And so that's what I am willing to do. Because as I said in the last video, stuff is just stuff. You can start with nothing like I did, with just your suitcase and the clothes in your suitcase, and invest in your career like I did. I paid $10,000 for my Rotman HR certificate for my education. And then I took my master's. And I took a diploma in spiritual direction, and I upgrade my skills for my HR. I'm always attending conferences, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm learning the changes in the labor laws. And the same thing with my spiritual direction. I do take courses now and again at Regis, but the fundamentals are there. I don't need to do too much more with my being a spiritual director, because I'm solid in it. Whereas in HR, things are always changing. So it's very disheartening, and it puts you off, because you think, when am I going to get that break? When am I actually going to not have to be a burden on other people, not have to ask other people to help me? But unfortunately, with the way things are in the world now, that's the only way I can do it. And I'm still going to persevere. And if I get that opportunity to go to America, to work in an executive assistant job that pays well, or to go somewhere else, then I'm going to take it and I'm going to go, because that's what I trained to do. I trained to be an executive assistant, and I trained to work in human resources. So that's the chapter for today. And that's my John Maxwell speaking. And for the immigrants who are going through what I'm going through, don't give up. That's all I can say. Don't give up.